you know. So the other danger, they would say in the blogs, the myth began to grow bigger, is that they could run out of food. And even if you stood in line for an hour and there was still another hour left in their time in that corner, they could just shut the window and it was over. You had to go home. They had no obligation to feed you a taco. Well, one day, coming back from speaking at an appointment across town, I'm driving past Pasadena, it's a town near Los Angeles, and a miracle happened. I got the tweet. And it so happened that it was right in front of me, half a mile away. I called my secretary and I said, you have to cancel all my afternoon appointments. Why? It's an important thing I have to do this afternoon. She knew. She said, you're going to Kogi, aren't you? Yes, I am. I drove there. By the time I got there was at least 80 people in line already. They also got the tweet and they ran. And we're all standing in line waiting for this thing. It was tense, quiet. No one's talking, just people pretend, you know when you're in a long line, some people make sure you're not going to cut. They just sort of stand like this, ready to block you if you try to, get in. And there's no, how sometimes there's a line and there's some people that will be like, no, I'm with my friend, my family, my wife, whatever, up there. So they walk up there. There's none of that. I mean, that would have not been okay. When there was probably 20 people left, the unthinkable happened. The window closed. There was no one out. It was just boom, closed. And the lady behind me began to cry. Real tears. Just a guy in front of me just dialed a number and began to shout into his phone, it's over. It's over. Like the end of the world has happened. And then the weirdest thing, no one moved. We just all stood there like, this will change if we just stay longer. Just stay. Just stay. And then, now, okay, I can say this stuff because I'm far away from home, across the world. That's cool. Unless it's being recorded again, then it'll go out to the whole world. Delete this part. I'm not real proud of this. I'm just reporting to you what happened, okay? The people who were left surrounded the truck and began to pound on the truck. It's Los Angeles, okay? You can do that kind of stuff there. Not really, I'm joking. I may or may not have been on the hood of the truck, looking to the windshield and pounding and yelling, Kogi, Kogi. Now, I see, because I was at the hood looking through the window, I could see them in there scrambling around like, we are going to die if we don't throw these people something to eat. So finally, the window opened again. We all heard it, boom, boom, and everyone just started running, pushing each other, going to the front of this line. This is crazy. And someone shouted from the window, all we have left is tofu tacos. Everyone gets one. I thought, tofu? I'm Adventist. Yes! I knew there was a day coming that I would be really grateful that my palate had been, used to eating tofu. So I stood in line and I received my taco and everyone, you receive it with, thank you. Then you hide it like this and you protect it with your arm and you don't eat it in public. You go back to your car and you lock the doors. It's not safe, and it was, let me describe it to you. Some of you are like, what is this food? Yes, it's a tortilla. Not tortilla. Some people call it tortilla. It's not tortilla, it's tortilla. Another tortilla. Two, one on top of the other. It's a redundancy. It's a safety issue, see. NASA does this too with their systems. It's important, Then a layer of their proprietary sauce, and then tofu, and then kimchi. You know what kimchi is? Acquired taste, but delicious once you acquired it. It's rotten cabbage, but they would never call it rotten cabbage. Fermented or something. And then more stuff on top, and it was incredible. Part of it, the reason why it's incredible is because what you have to go through to get this thing. The way home as I was driving, you got to think, sure, you say that thing because you're a pastor and you have to. All these things become illustrations for you. Partly, yes, but I really did think this on my way home. I thought, how come no one lines up at my church when we open the doors? No one lines up for 2 hours waiting for us to open to receive whatever we're giving there. How come we have to go out and attract people? Come to this thing where it's really cool. We got music, and we got coffee and cake, and we have, or we have all kinds of other stuff. How come people, does that happen here? I don't know. Maybe it does. Maybe on Saturday mornings before your community services, maybe crowds line up outside and begin to pound on your walls. Does that happen here? Or at your church, wherever you're from? Oh, you're shy. You're like, that's a thought question. Don't answer it. I mean, how come people don't clamor for whatever we're offering here? Maybe it's because they figured out that what we're offering is not really what they're looking for. Maybe it's because they've been already, and they figured out they don't have the bread of life there. They have something, but it's not quite satisfying. And I kept just wrestling with this in my church. I kept thinking, how is it that we are dispensing like something that is, the consequences are eternal, Jesus, but no one comes to receive this, at least not the way they do the Kogi truck. And I go to committee meetings, like these huge, like important people get together back where I'm from, and we talk about the fact that, we're missing the young people. The 18 to 35 are missing. They don't find this relevant and so on. How can we, and the word always jars me, how can we attract them to this thing? Well, what if we stopped talking that way and we actually talked about church the way it's supposed to be? And then once we've talked about that, and once we figure it out, what if they found us so irresistible that we literally would have to lock the doors and wait until the appointed time, and then we open and people would rush in here. They would rush in here, and if there wasn't enough room, they would pound on the walls. I went to a conference, and a brilliant ecclesiologist, it's like a fancy word for someone who talks about church and thinks about church and writes about church, said this: a movement is waning and its influence is diminishing when it becomes institutionalized and gravitates to be more concerned with protecting and conserving than anything else. I thought, yes, that sounds important. And he repeated it, so I wrote it down. A movement is waning and its influence is diminishing when it becomes institutionalized and gravitates to being more concerned with protecting and conserving than anything else. And then I wrote that down, and I went home, and it was like a mind grenade on a timer. Because one night, it went off, and I thought, wait, he's talking about me. He's talking about me. Can we be honest? I've been here long enough, I think we can be honest now. I don't work long hours for an institution. I don't want to give my life to an institution. I don't travel far for the sake of an institution. I want to be part of a movement that believes in and does what Jesus says. So I'll tell you right now, I will not spend a day investing in an institution whose influence is waning and is more concerned with protecting and conserving. Protecting and conserving, that's what movements that are dying do. Should we look at the Bible and talk a little bit more about this? Yes? Or are you scared, or are you... Let's look in the Bible, Mark 14. It's going to be, for some of you, it's going to be a bizarre place to find an explanation of this, but it isn't. It's actually perfect. Mark 14. Now, Mark 14, your page number should be, I didn't do the work ahead of time to tell you what page. Mark 14 is actually page 610. Excellent. Page 610. Here is what Mark 14 says, a story about Jesus and a woman that Jesus meets before he dies. While he was in Bethany, reclining at the table in the home of a man known as Simon the leper. How would you like that to be your nickname for eternity? Hello, my name is Simon the leper. This is how he's recording. This is how we remember him for the rest of history, for eternity. Simon the leper. Hello, my name is Bob. Psoriasis Bob. Remember me? Acid reflux Frank. Frank, acid reflux Frank. Thank you. Mary, fungus Mary. Remember? It's kind of what's happening. Simon the leper. A woman came with an alabaster jar of very expensive perfume made of pure nard. Okay, let's pause here for a moment and talk about what this woman actually has. What she has is this perfume that comes from the far, far country, maybe India, and it's imported into the land of Palestine, and it's very expensive. Very, 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 very expensive. When she walks into the room, the way that I heard this story told or preached when I was growing up was this. She walks into the room, cracks this thing open, and the minute that happens, everyone goes, nard, right? Everyone falls silent because they know, I smell something really delicious, something really good. It's nard. Where's it coming from? Oh, there's a woman right there with the nard in her hands. What is she doing here? Oh, she's anointing Jesus. That's actually probably not what happened. Why? Because this society is really male-dominated. So this is not what, I'm not telling you this is right or wrong. I'm just telling you it's the reality. Men only in a room. The minute a woman walks into the room, she's out of place. So everyone falls silent the minute she walks into the room because she does not belong. Now, there is a tradition of tying this woman with Mary the Magdalene, but textual, if you really look into textual studies, there really isn't a connection. It's cool preaching, but it really isn't a connection there. But this probably is just an anonymous woman. Mark does not give her a last name. He doesn't call her the Magdalene woman. This is just a woman walks in, and she's holding a bottle of nard. The reason why the room falls silent is because she does not belong. At this point, at this moment, if she doesn't know why she's in the room, if she's not made up her mind that she's in the room for Jesus, then there's no way she's going to make her way across the room and anoint him like she's decided to do. So that's the first lesson tonight. And so, she walks into the room, every eye turns to her. What are you doing here? You don't belong here. She's holding a bottle of nard. She has to decide at that moment, what am I here to do? What matters most? What have I decided? If I'm going to walk across the room, I'm going to have to ignore all the stares, all the whispers, all the nard. Okay, let's talk about the nard. Okay, the nard, which is a funny name for a perfume. I think it's hilarious. Nard. It's hilarious. But it's in the Bible, so we can't make fun of it like that. No, nard. Here's the other way I heard this sermon preached often when I was growing up. It was the nard is so expensive, so she went home and she sold stuff that she had and she collected on debts and she gathered the money and went to the market and she said, I'd like the most expensive perfume you have. Give me the nard. I'm going to anoint somebody with the death, thing. So they give her this bottle of nard. She spent so much money and then she brings it to anoint Jesus. But that's probably not what happened. You see, you couldn't just go to a store and say, do you have any nard in stock? This is the kind of thing that you only got when there was a caravan coming through that had brought this incredible, really it's like priceless and it's rare and you just can't go to farmers and ask for it. What likely happened is this, more likely, and I like it this way better, okay, is that her grandmother was given this bottle of nard by somebody who wanted to pay her for something, some service, whatever. Just somehow her grandmother came by this nard. And it was given to her, and her grandmother took this nard, and she immediately knew, like some expensive bottle of perfume, she knew this is not